そうですね、昨日に続いてジャイルス・ピーターソンのインタビューの後半をお送りします。昨日で、ちょうどヘックス、松浦敏夫さんの新しいアルバムから東京ブルーズを聴いたところだったんですけど、今日は多分僕のその曲の感想から入るのかな。This is really nice too.
Yeah, it's great. It's good to hear Ed's voice on such a classic song by Horace Silver, of course, which has got a great record sleeve. I mean, the Blue Note with it's Horace Silver with 2 or 3 Japanese ladies on the front cover.
Oh, it's that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
It's got Sayonara Blues on it as well, which is another great song. Really brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, good record. Hex. It's the new project from Toshio Matsura.
One of the things we've been doing here at InterFM recently is, I mean, we say that we're trying to bring some magic back to the airwaves, and we ask a lot of our listeners to give us requests for songs that they felt when they first heard them on the radio, which is totally magic. You know, they heard them, we went straight out to buy them, that sort of stuff. Can you remember back to when you were in your youth and listening to radio as a listener, not being involved with music professionally yet? Any songs that did that for you?
I remember hearing John Peel playing The Clash. That was very strong for me. London Calling, that era was you know, John Peel had a pretty important effect on people like myself. There was other DJs. There was a DJ called Robbie Vincent who used to do a sort of soul jazz funk show on BBC Radio London. I'll never forget the day that he played the Jones Girls Nights Over Egypt, which is Dexter Wansell production, and it was Christmas, whatever year that was, late 70s, and that was like, oh my God, I want to, you know, that was like the moment for me. When I heard that on the radio, I couldn't, you know, I didn't think music could be as good as that ever, and so that whole, you know, that's what radio's about, you know, so it's being able to give people that experience.
ジャイルスに最近のインター FM ではリスナーにもう一度魔法を電波に取り戻そうということをやってるっていう話をして、でリスナーにいつもあなたが魔法を感じる、曲のリクエストを募っているという話で、ジャイルスがね、昔まだ、放送関係者ではない時代に、リスナーとしてそういう風に感じた曲は何かあったかって、まあもちろんあるの分かってるんですけど、聞いたら、何人かまず DJ の名前挙げましたね。ジョン・ピール、まあ僕の世代からずっとジョン・ピールをやってたんですけど、彼が、クラッシュのロンドンコーリングなんかかけた時はすごく今でもよく覚えている。でそのジョン・ピールは僕らの世代、ジャールスたちの世代に対しても、とっても影響を与えた、重要な人物だという話をしてて、あとロビー・ヴィンセントっていう DJ も いたんですけど、彼はソウルとか、ジャズとかそういった音楽をよくかける、番組を持ってて、ラディオロンドンって言ってましたかな。で絶対に忘れられないのは、彼がジョーンズ・ガールズのNights Over Egypt という曲をかけた時、それが確かクリスマスだった、何年だったか今思い出せないけど、70年代の終わり頃、確かね81年ではなかったかと思うんですけど、デクスター・ウォンセルがプロデュースしたレコードで、もうあれを聴いた瞬間にもう音楽はこれ以上に素晴らしくなることはおそらくないだろう、もう感激してしまったっていう話をしていました。実はね、僕はその曲聞いたことはなかったんで、調べてちょっと手に入れてみました。聞いていただきましょう。The Jones Girls Nights Over Egypt。 when was it you decided you wanted to be doing that? Was it when you heard that record or something similar to it?
I was already sort of, you know, getting myself out there playing records. I'd got turntables when I was 15. It was the weekend that my mum and dad had gone away on their 25th or, I don't know, 40th wedding anniversary. I can't remember what it was. And I know that when they came back and they went to the garden shed at the back of the garden, and my model railway set had been replaced by some turntables.
What, you sold the railway set?
It just wasn't there anymore. I don't know what I did with that. But I know that there was decks inside the shed instead, and my mum was just devastated. She was so worried because it was also the year before I took my first sort of set important exams, and my dad was like, actually this is probably a good thing because he's found what he really wants to do. And so yeah, that was really it. I was already making and playing records at local parties and, you know, turning up, you know, in bars as the young 15-year-old. And I just say I'll do anything for nothing, you know, as you have to do at that stage. And I was listening to people like Robbie Vincent and Greg Edwards on pirate radio stations at the time, and that was, you know, very much the early days of, you know, me kind of wanting to share this great music I could hear.
Right. When you say pirate radio, to me, having been a kid in the 60s, I think of Radio London, Radio Caroline and all of that. In that era, pirate radio they weren't on the sea anymore. They were. No. How did that work out? I mean, were people able to continue broadcasting? I mean, how long was it before the law came down on you?
Well, I mean, I did pirate radio for many years.
Right.
That was very much sort of what I was better known for than being, a club DJ at that time. And I set up my own pirate stations, and then I started working for a black soul music station in London called Radio Invicta, and we used to get a transmitter. I mean, what would happen with my radio station, which might be a bit more interesting for your listener, is the fact that my dad was quite into this side of my new life as a DJ, and I turned his garden shed, which had his tools and my electric railway set, into a pirate radio studio. And then I'd record these 1-hour shows on a cassette, and my dad would then drive me up to Epsom Downs, which is in South London, which is a high spot above London, and we'd go and attach the transmitter to a car battery. Okay. And the transmitter would be connected to an aerial, which we'd put up at the top of a tree. And then and the cassette was connected as well. We'd press play, and there'd be a phone number on the cassette on my show. I'd say, give us a call now on this number, and there was a phone box just by the pub, and I'd be waiting in the phone box for a phone call to come through of anyone who might be listening to this weird little radio station. This was the lowest level of pirate radio at the time, and I'd get 1 or 2 phone calls.
How far was your reach?
My reach was probably, you know, we got to Croydon, and we probably got about 5 miles. You know, very small at the time, but you know, I got some phone calls.
Amazing.
Yeah, we got phone calls, and that was good. And then the bigger pirate station, Radio Invicta, they'd heard that there was this. They'd got busted by the government at the time, or by the Home Office. Who was actually the guy who used to run this particular side of the law. Was a guy called Eric. Everyone knew Eric because he was the one who busted. That was his job, to bust the pirates. And many years later, a few years ago, I think a couple of years ago, a friend of mine saw Eric at a convention, and Eric said he never took Giles Peterson's station off because he actually quite liked jazz. He never took me off. But in the end, I gave my equipment to another radio station because they'd got busted, and but I said to them, as long as they gave me a show. And so that was really when I got to learn about London, because I was quite small and I had a car at the age of 17, and so I was the one who was stupid enough to go around London and go up to the top of all the highest buildings, and I'd be putting the airways up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
My God, so you really were a bit of a rebel.
There. Oh yeah, I knew. I mean, that's how I learned London. I got to know London as a city from going up all the buildings.
And just broadcasting from anywhere you possibly could?
I did a lot all over, yeah. Leighton, Crystal Palace, you know, up towards Alexandra Palace, Crouch End, Muswell Hill, all those areas.
I lived there for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah. I wish I'd been there when you were doing it.
It was a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah. さあいろんな話がありました、ジャイルズはいつから放送の仕事に携わりたくなったかと聞いたら、もうね15歳からターンテーブルを持っていた。ちょうど両親がね、結婚の25周年かなんかで 週末いなくなったんだけど帰ってきたら、お父さんの庭の方にある道具なんかを入れる小屋があって、はい、そこに僕のあれね、おもちゃの、鉄道、なんていうの、レールウェイセットが あったはずなのに、それがなくなって代わりにターンテーブルが2台入っていた。で お母さんがもうそれでがっくりしてもう本当に動揺していたけれど、ちょうど翌年に重要な試験があるものだから、こんなことにこうのめり込んでほしくない、お父さんは逆に、僕がやりたいことを見つけたからいいんじゃないのという態度をとっていたけれどもね。で15歳からね、いろんな近所のパーティーとかバーみたいなところなんかでも無料で DJ をやり始めたと、またさっき言ったロビー・ヴィンセントとかグレッグ・エドワーズという DJ たちの番組を聞きつつ、海賊ラジオもいろいろ聞いてました、はい、でパイレートラジオと聞いて、僕が60年代の海賊ラジオを船から放送していたもんだから、
そうですよね、
それと違いますよねって聞いたら、もちろん違う。で海賊ラジオ実は何年も続けたもので、クラブの仕事よりもそっちの方で知られていた。もう一つ海賊のソウルの専門局インビクタっていうところでも仕事をしたけれども、自分でとにかく送信機を買って、そのターンテーブルが入ってた小屋、家の裏にある小屋のところにそれを置いてて、でお父さんも面白がってくれてね、はい、彼の小屋をスタジオのようにして1時間番組をカセットで録音して、それでお父さんの車で、家のそこそこ近いところにあって、エプソムダウンズっていうロンドンの南側にあるところですけど、広いところ、そこに車で行って送信機を車のバッテリーにつないで、それで、アンテナを木の上に置くで、カセットの再生ボタンを押して、それでもうラジオ番組を始めた。それで番組の中でね、電話番号を何度か喋って、ぜひ聞いている方が いたら電話くださいって言ったらね、で近くのパブの前に電話ボックスがあって、その電話ボックスでずっと待ってた、でも 1,2 回電話は来たもんで、どのぐらいの範囲で聞けたのって聞いたらね、クロイドンとかね、辺まで飛んだから5マイルって言ったら8キロぐらいですね、そのぐらいのエリアで受信できたものです。でさっき言ったインビクターというソウルの専門局があって、そこはもう政府の取り締まりにあってもう潰れちゃったんだけど、はい、その取り締まりの、担当の人はエリックという人で、何年か前に友達がそのエリックにばったりなんかのコンベンションであったんですって。もうそのエリックというのは業界で有名な人で、いつもそういう海賊ラジオをやってる人たちを、潰すのは彼の担当だったから、ね、はい、でジャイルス・ピーターソンの番組だけ潰さなかったんだ俺は、ジャズ好きだからっつって、言ってたんだそうです。はい。でとにかくジャイルズはね、17歳ですでに自分の車を持って、でロンドン中のいろんなね高いビルがあるとすぐにその上に行ってね放送してたんですって、朝の4時とかに。ロンドン中のいろんなところでいやその時代に聞きたかったなという話をしました。さあその続き。You're working on BBC Radio 6 now,
yeah.
which is the digital channel, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, in order to do what you do on, for example, one of the other analog terrestrial radio channels, how easy or not easy is that to do in England now? Because in Japan it's not that easy at all.
To do digital radio?
Well, no, to do the sort of music you do on, for example, Radio 2 or Radio 3, say.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that I found...
Or Radio 1 for that matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was on Radio 1 for many years.
I know, yeah.
And in a way, I think radio needs to have a format, and it needs to know what it's getting. And so DJs like myself, who are children of people like John Peel, and I'd say radio stations in France like Radio Nova that have got a much more eclectic approach to radio programming, music programming, we're very much in the minority, and as you know, that philosophy of radio. Fortunately for me, Radio 6 Music turned up a few years ago, which was the latest sort of line for the BBC. They've obviously been developing digital radio with the Asian network, with One Extra, which is the black urban station, and they wanted to set up a station which was more towards the sort of, you know, music connoisseurs and people who are really passionate about music. So they set up Six Music, which has become a big success because it was almost going to get closed down at one stage a few years ago when the government were making some cuts on the BBC's spending. And there was such a revolt from the listeners that it ended up having a huge profile, and then they had to keep it open, and that was very much a catalyst moment for the station. And so, you know, for me, it's been a blessing that I've been able to go at my age, as I'm reaching 50 now, to get away from Radio 1, which is very youth-dominated and youth-obsessed. I didn't really want to be on that station, even though I play very young music a lot of the time. I didn't want to be this kind of older guy feeling like I was not meant to be there, because it's almost ageist, the way it works. So I was like, you know what? I'm very fortunate to have Six Music, who offered me a job, and they said you'd be perfect here, and so you know, I've joined a lot of other you know, interesting broadcasters. There's a great daytime show by Lauren Laverne, which is very, very eclectic, very successful. Huey Morgan, there's some great shows. A lot of people like Keris Matthews presents a really good show on there, who used to be in the group Catatonia. And Jarvis Cocker does a radio show on there as well.
Oh, really?
So it's the kind of station that I would want to listen to, if you know what I mean. So I feel very fortunate to be on there.
Okay, great. I shall definitely tune into it next time I'm in London.
listen to Keris. I mean, you know, the thing as well, of course, is that you know, I mean, you can listen to it globally as well, can't you? So
of course you can get it on the internet. Yes,
that's what helps.
Yeah, when you're living in Japan, you kind of forget about this, because Japanese radio can't go out to the world.
That's right.
It's the only country in the world.
Why is that?
Don't ask me.
Are they going to fix it before the Olympics?
Yeah, they really do, don't they?
Yeah. Let's hope they do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in today, Giles. Let's leave the listeners with one more song out of the ones you brought in. Actually, you brought in a copy of an upcoming release on Brownswood, your current label. Yeah. Zara McFarlane. Yeah. Should we play something from this?
Let's do it. Yeah, she's a singer. It's her second record for the label. She's from London. And she's made this record. There's a couple of excellent tracks featuring some guests, but I thought we'd go with a version of a song which is a classic Nina Simone track, and she does a really great version of this. It's called Plain Gold Ring.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Peter.
I hope we get to see each other again soon.
Absolutely.
ジャイルズは最近 BBC の Radio 6 Music というチャンネルで番組を持っています。これデジタル放送なんですね。はい。で、デジタルじゃなく普通のアナログの放送、地上波の、ラジオでもあなたのかけるような音楽の番組を持つっていうのはイギリスではどうなのって言って、聞いてみたんですね。そしたらラジオにはフォーマットは確かに必要だと思う。でもジャイルズみたいにね、ジョン・ピールとかそういうタイプの、ブロードキャスターの、子供たちというかその子孫のような存在だからね、例えばフランスにあるノーバというもっとエクレクティックなラジオ局もあるんだけどね、いろんなタイプの音楽をかける曲、そういった人たちも自分もマイノリティであることは確かで、BBC のその Radio 6 Music っていうのは、本当に通好みの、ラジオ局として出発して今は成功している。一度、政府の、予算削減の時にもう閉鎖にされかねない、状況があったけれども、リスナーがみんな反発して、それでBBC は閉鎖せずに、続けたんだけど、これはもうとってもうまくいった、結局は。で、ジャイルズはもう間もなく50歳になるところだけど、Radio 1長年やってたけれども、Radio 1というのは若者のための音楽しか書けない曲だし、そういう若者でやるっていうのためでやるっていうことにもう取りつかれているようなものだから、自分もね、若者が好む曲をかけることも多いけれども、ほとんど Radio 1で仕事してると年齢差別のようなものを感じることもあって、そこを離れられて逆に良かったと思っている、という話もしてましたね。で、Radio 6 Music ではローレン・ラバンドとかヒューイ・モーガンとか、元カタトーニアというグループの、ボーカリストだったケリス・マティウスとかジャービス・コカーとか、そういった自分がもしリスナーだったら聞きたいようなラジオ局だから、これはとても良かったと 言ってます。でもちろんこれグローバルで聞けるものですよって言って、あ、そうか、日本にいるとついついそういうことを忘れちゃうって言って、僕言ったんですね。日本の放送だけはね、日本以外で聞けないから、はい、それでジャールズはなぜって言ってましたけど、知りませんよ私はで、とにかくオリンピックまでにはそれ直さなくちゃねって、彼も言ってました、はい、で、最後に、ジャイルズが持ってきたレコードの中に彼の持っているブラウンズウッドっていうレーベルから、間もなく発売されるのかな、ザーラ・マクファーレンっていうロンドン出身の、女性歌手で、彼のレーベルで2作目だって言ってましたね。その中からこれはニーナ・シモーンの曲です。 Plain Gold Ring。Plain gold ring on his finger he wore. It was where everyone could see he belonged to someone, but not me. On his hand was a plain gold band. Plain gold ring had a story to tell. It was one that I knew too well. In my heart it would never be spring, long as he wears a plain gold ring. Whoa. Calling on me, I don't know if I could ever be free. Can't stop these teardrops of mine. I'm going to love him till the end of time. Plain gold ring had but one thing to say. I'll remember till my dying day. In my heart it will never be spring, long as he wears a plain gold ring. Whoa. Ooh. ザラ・マクファーラン Plain Gold Ring 聴いていただきました。それにしてもジャイルズはその BBC の Radio 6 Music というところでやってますけど、 BBC は1,2,3,4,5,6、これは全部全国の波、あとはいろいろとローカルの曲もいっぱいあって、恵まれてます。ジャイルズ・ピーターソンのインタビューをフィーチャー